Hey everyone, welcome into Minor Details, our podcast with the four voices from the Cubs full season minor league affiliates. As we approach the All-Star break, our final episode before the All-Star break of the 2025 season. I'm Jason Kev with the Iowa Cubs. We have Connor Nelson in Double-A Knoxville, Brendan King with High-A South Bend, and Luke Maley in Single-A Myrtle Beach. And we're going to talk about players and plays that have impressed us over the last couple of weeks. But we have to start with kind of the overarching drama that has carried us through the first several months of the season. Luke, July 4th happened, and you were supposed to try the Chicago-style pizza burger. Now, I understand that game got rained out, or on the 5th, I should say, the game got rained out. But did you eat the pizza burger and give us a review?
I did, and so I'm not sure what we're going to be able to talk about for the remaining episodes of this show. It's been a staple every time, but July 5th had been circled on the calendar. That was for those of you that are just now hearing it. I said I would do it when Jason's former team came to the ballpark, which was the 4th of July, but I felt that 4th of July adding a pizza burger might be a tough combo. So it just happened to work out perfectly that 5th of July, we had some weather. We ended up in a delay. I actually went to Clark and Addison Grill down the right field line to get said pizza burger. They were turning the ovens on and said, come back in 30 minutes. And so 30 minutes goes by, which is cutting it tight for me anyway. So I get down there the second time. Here we're going to go into a delay. I feel, okay, we're okay. But it's pouring rain. My family was actually in town. My wife, as well as both my parents, were in town. And so my dad ended up trying the pizza burger with me. Pelicans coming off of a 4th of July win. It was a ton of fun here at the ballpark in front of 6,600 fans. They took down the Charleston River Dogs, the former team for Jason Kemp. And today, here on the 5th, our game canceled due to inclement weather. Going to play that later on in this season. But fulfilling a promise to the voice of the iCubs, Jason Kemp, we've got the pizza burger from the Clark and Addison Grill down that right field line. It looks good. It smells good. Let's see if it's as good as advertised. That's pretty good. That's good stuff. I think it's a ballpark staple now. I think every ballpark needs to have this. Got to have the pizza burger at your ballpark. That's for sure. Hot dogs, hamburgers, and pizza burgers, right? I'm gonna give it a 9.4. For me, that's an extremely high score. This is good stuff. If you're ever here at Myrtle Beach, come grab it. Both of us gave it a flawless review. It was excellent. And then it ended up that the game got postponed. We're going to play that later in August. So I got to have a pizza burger, kick my feet up in the booth, write a little presser that said, we're going to move this game to a different night, and then head home. So it was a pretty good night.
Yeah, I've never waited less than 20 minutes for the Chicago-style pizza burger. It does take a chunk out of the pregame preparation, but it's made with love. All right, let's dive into some of the players here that have stood out over the last couple of weeks. We'll keep it there with you, Luke. Who was better, the pizza burger or Ethan Flanagan?
I don't think anybody's been better than Ethan Flanagan. The pizza burger gives him a run for his money, but Flanagan, 4 starts. He's got a sub-1 ERA right now. It sits at 0.86. He's 2-0 here in Myrtle Beach. Just unbelievable stuff. His first start of this month back on July 2nd, that was at Charleston right before that split series came back to Myrtle Beach. And 6 innings, he allowed 3 hits, no runs, 9 strikeouts, which the 9 Ks were a career high. They're also a team high for a Myrtle Beach pitcher this year. He has been excellent, a guy that was a later round draft pick out of UCLA. He's been fantastic to start his tenure here. Kind of one of those guys that you almost feel like goes by the wayside in terms of top 30 prospects and the recognition he gets. He's a former Team USA guy. It's electric stuff. He finds ways to get outs. He gets a ton of swing and misses. A guy certainly to pay attention to because I think he might climb the ranks pretty quickly. We've seen a couple after we've talked about them go immediately up to BK. He's kind of a candidate to end up in South Bend pretty soon.
Well, that's good to hear from a guy that has helped you guys off to a great start to the second half, and the one team that's been way up there above 500 here since the halfway point of the campaign. Let's go on to High-A South Bend. Okay, I think you're joining us from Appleton, Wisconsin, in the midst of a series against the Timber Rattlers. And as part of that series, I think this is a guy that Luke mentioned earlier this year. Evan Oschenbeck had a really good day.
Yeah, first of all, Luke, congratulations on your pizza burger. Very happy for you and the experience. Evan Oschenbeck has been dynamite, guys, and I think there's no surprise that now two broadcasters on this show have talked about him to highlight him this season because he's been locked down good. Third time this season, guys, that with South Bend, Evan Oschenbeck has pitched 7 innings in a start. One of them was a complete game in game 2 of a doubleheader just a few weeks before his performance in Wisconsin. So I think what Luke said about Flanagan is true about Oschenbeck, where he's not considered a top 30 prospect necessarily, but he definitely should be on that list because he came in with a lot of hype. Even though he was a 13th round pick out of Texas A&M, you can make an argument he was the best pitcher in the College World Series a year ago. And now he's been one of the best pitchers in the Cubs organization. And, I'll tell you, right now, I wouldn't consider the Chicago Cubs organization really, at least on the minor league side, stacked with left-handed prospects. Evan Oschenbeck might be one of the best, other than maybe Drew Gray and a couple others. Boy, Evan Oschenbeck has looked tremendous, guys. And again, led the Cubs to that win in Appleton, as you referenced, Jason, with 7 innings of 1-run ball. His 3rd win of the year. So the South Bend rotation, we talked about them last episode, leading the Cubs to a strong start to the second half. That's the case again here in half number 2 towards the back end of July.
And in Knoxville, Connor, I know you wanted to talk about a guy that I think people have been waiting for and were kind of salivating over after his run in the College World Series at Michigan. You wanted to talk about outfielder Jordan Wogu.
That's right. And I'll start it off by saying thank you guys for having me on. Always happy to pinch hit for Richie Giuliano, one of the best. But yeah, needed to talk about Jordan Wogu. I feel like this guy doesn't get enough love. You mentioned it, College World Series standout at Michigan, a guy who had to walk himself on there. I mean, just everything I feel like builds up to his underdog story. And it's kind of been similar in the minor leagues. I mean, you guys have kind of probably seen his progression, and it's been interesting. And he feels like a whole new ball player this year. And he's really getting some love from the baseball gods as of recently. I mean, he's just a singles machine. He's driving in runs, hitting over 400 in his last 10 games. And the Smokies have really needed the production in the outfield, man, because we'll talk about the plays later, but they've been missing a really key piece in that outfield, and it's, partly because of one of those plays we're going to talk about later. And he's just really come on. I mean, everybody knows about the speed, such an X factor in his game, and when he's really able to utilize that because he's actually getting on base all the time, this is a new kind of Jordan Wogu we're seeing here to start the second half, especially a lot different than the first half.
I'll talk about another outfielder, and generally I try to avoid low-hanging fruit, but sometimes the fruit is hanging so low and is so juicy that you just have to grab it. So let's talk about the number 1 prospect now for the Cubs in Owen Caissie, and a guy that everybody expects the world of. It's hard to imagine he's still just 23, turned 23 this week, actually. But what a week and what a month of July he's had so far. He gets selected to the Futures game for a 2nd straight year. Last year, he wasn't able to play in the game because he was a little bit banged up. So he'll be headed to Atlanta here in the next day or two to play in the Futures game on July 12th in Atlanta. But 3 multi-home run games, in the span of 5 days. He had 2 on Wednesday in Des Moines on July 3rd, then on July 5th in Omaha, and then in the first game of the series against St. Paul on July 8th. Everything he swings at and puts in play seems to be 105 plus off the bat. And there hasn't been a ballpark that's been able to contain it so far. In the first 7 games in the month of July, 6 home runs, 8 runs batted in. But the real key for Caissie, early on, he was injured. He sprained his ankle in the first road trip this season, and then actually went through some sun poisoning after a day game in Des Moines that caused him to miss about a week. But in July, he struck out 6 times and he's walked 6 times. So he's starting to lay off the pitches that pitchers are willing to throw him, and that's led to an increased on-base percentage. He also has 2 doubles this month, and I think the arrow is firmly pointed up. And the question is now, every time he has a big game, all you see on social media is perfect for his trade value. That's kind of the expectation. You hear it in the clubhouse. You hear it around Cubs Twitter and Cubs social media. Is he going to be the key piece to a deal getting a frontline starter or another position player that can swing it a little bit? So that'll be interesting to watch. I'll tell you this, if he is traded, the iCubs lineup is going to miss him. He's actually going to hit leadoff in a couple of games this week, and excited to see what he does in the Futures game as well. So the star continues to shine bright for Owen Caissie here in Des Moines. All right, let's talk about some of the moments from these last 2 weeks. A couple of us had a little bit tougher time maybe finding these moments with some of the struggles on the field, but not so much in Myrtle Beach. I think you've had plenty of choices, Luke. A winning streak in front of a huge crowd is not a bad way to kick off the second half in the first few weeks.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that was exactly what it was on the 4th of July. 6,600 fans, a packed house at Pelicans Ballpark. It was a good crowd too. Like they were very energized and into the game. They weren't just watching the game, waiting for the fireworks. They were very, very involved, and they had a lot to cheer for. It was a back and forth game with Charleston. Pelicans had a 5-0 lead. At that point, 11 of their 12 second half games, they had not allowed more than 3 earned runs. And that's a trend that's kind of continued. But in that game, they were up 5-0. All of a sudden, Charleston puts together a 5-run inning to make it 6-5 in favor of Charleston. So Pelicans ended up having to come back. But the big part of that game was in the 3rd inning, helping them get to that 5-0 lead was a 2-run shot by Jose Escobar, a rare homer out to over the right field wall, and then a home run to the left by Matt Hallback that was demolished. And we talked about Matt in the last episode. He has continued exactly what he's been doing. A lot of homers. He's 4th in the league in OPS since the schedule was wiped clean, the record's wiped clean, and we start that second half. It's been a lot of fun.
And this is our first ever low light in the second half as well. You bringing Sam Wiederhaft into the booth on a long winning streak against Charleston, a team that he's notably struggled with over the years, a chance to sweep the River Dogs, and you decided to bring Sam Wiederhaft in the booth. Can you explain that decision-making?
I got a text early in the day from Sam just saying, hey, I'm going to be at the ballpark. I'd love to come up and say hello. And I was like, yeah, dude, of course. Like, let me know if you want to come on air. And he was like, okay. So we brought him on, and we had a lot of fun, and then we ran into a 5-run inning. He was on for the top of the 3rd, bottom of the 3rd. I think it was the 4th maybe that they erupted, or maybe it was the 3rd itself. But we had a lot of time to chat. It was fun, but that did snap the Pelicans' 5-game winning streak. So
yeah, tough call there. We'll get over it, I guess. But maybe you learned your lesson in the second half. Certainly not in a playoff game should he be anywhere near the booth.
Well, if you were following us on Twitter, I mentioned birds are 0-1 since I tried the pizza burger, and I got crucified by a couple of these guys for it. They are now off the hook. Sam is back on the hook. Pizza burger is good to go because the birds have found the win column since that moment.
I'm glad you came to your senses. We were not blaming the greatest food item in minor league baseball. All right, let's talk about South Bend. A massive day at the plate on July 8th. Some big names involved as well, BK.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to vouch for the Philly steak nachos in South Bend as to one of the best items in minor league baseball. If you guys ever visit, again, I know, Jason, you've been to South Bend before. We'll get you hooked up with that. But yeah, best offensive day of the season, guys, for the South Bend Cubs back on July 8th in the opener in that Wisconsin series. They put up 13 runs. That's a season best on 13 hits with 4 home runs. The South Bend Cubs clubbing 4 bombs in the game. Season high, Jefferson Rojas, Brian Calmer, as well as Cameron Cisneros and Ariel Armas, all club homers. The Cubs had a home run, one exactly in the first 3 innings. And boy, how about Jefferson Rojas, guys, the Cubs' number 3 prospect? He is now top 10 in the Midwest League in all of on-base percentage, slugging percentage, and OPS. And no disrespect to Jefferson Rojas at all, you don't think of him necessarily as a power man. So him being top 10 in the Midwest League in slugging percentage, at the time of recording this podcast, he's got 8 home runs, 3 of them since June the 20th. And he's really finding his stroke. And I think we talked about this last episode, the fact that with every game and with every plate appearance, he's getting older. It sounds simple, but he's 20 years old and still at this level in the Midwest League, 99% of his plate appearances have come against guys older than him. There's only been 2 times where he's faced off against a guy that's either been younger or the same age. There's been one of each, same age, younger. Other than that, Jefferson Rojas is facing these college arms, and he's having success in doing so. Brian Calmer has also really found it lately. It took him until late June to hit his first home run of the year, but he's got 4 since. And Brian Calmer, it's kind of a similar type deal from last year, where he hit his first home run last season on May the 31st, wound up with 11. Ariel Armas, the Cubs' 5th-round pick out of San Diego last year, catches a great ball game. The bat has been a little slower to get used to this level, But boy, he's been locked down good in the last number of weeks. And then Cameron Cisneros, what can you say? Since he came up from low A Myrtle Beach, the guy's been an absolute rock star, and he is statistically hitting lefties better than righties reverse splits, even though he's a left-handed batter. So great day for the South Bend Cubs with those season-high 13 runs and 4 bombs.
I think people would love to hear more notes about games like that coming out of South Bend here down the stretch. Knoxville, Connor, you mentioned a play that earlier you kind of teased this, that was a great play individually, but led to a little bit of a shortage in the outfield at times. Take us through it.
Yeah, we're talking about Brett Bateman. He's been the steady presence out there in center field for Knoxville pretty much all season. Whenever he's in the lineup, he's in center field and he's batting first. That's just Brett Bateman. That's how he is. And he's been spectacular in the outfield all season long, flying around getting balls. He's got a great first step. He's got great speed, and he utilizes all of it. He's even shown off the arm a handful of times this season. But we're talking about the wheels and the absolute just dog inside of him on this play, because this ball took him all the way back to the track. You see guys do this all the time. They're feeling out for the wall. Bateman didn't have time. He's running full speed up to the track, to the wall, slams into the wall, hangs onto the ball. The sad part is we didn't see him get up for a little bit. Luckily, we've got the report. He's totally fine. Has had to spend some time on the IL, but we've been seeing him every day. He's still here in Knoxville, still looking great, running great, throwing great. And I'm here. He's getting back into the cages too. It was maybe a little bit of a knee thing that he dealt with, just kind of hitting into the wall, maybe a bruise, and they wanted to give another guy a shot. So we're hopeful to see him back soon. But man, this was just one of the most insane plays that I've seen at this stadium. For a park that's been playing very big, I mean, guys just can't get the ball out here in Knoxville. It's what we've kind of found so far in this, first year of its tenure. And so these outfielders have had to do so much work, and dead center, obviously, biggest part of the yard. Bateman didn't know what he was getting himself into and really made a dent in that wall. I know our groundskeeper, Joe, had to fix that up real fast after that. They helped him into the bullpen. And again, he is fine, totally fine. Bateman should be rejoining the team, I'm assuming, next week. But yeah, I mean, the best play we've seen in the outfield for sure. We've had some contenders in the infield, but out of the outfield plays, that's the best one. And then I had to mention one more thing about Jordan Wogu. Backtrack real quick. He changed his walk-up song. I don't know if any of you guys have seen the movie Sinners, but it's the main one from the movie Sinners, kind of a horror movie, Michael B. Jordan. It's the I Lied to You song. Anyway, I feel like that's got to be contributing to his success as well. It's just a different frame of mind he's in now, and it's fun to watch. But both those guys in the outfield, I can't wait to see them back in the lineup together, because I feel like both of them are going to be taking some pretty nice attitudes into their final few games of the second half.
I think this podcast, if we've done anything, it's proved that walk-up songs are the difference in a prospect's career. And so maybe we'll have a report from Des Moines after the All-Star break about somebody turning around their season with a change of walk-up. I hope I can provide that. But for today, I'm going to talk about Connor Noland on July 3rd. This is a really interesting situation that takes a little backstory. So before the game, it's July 3rd, right? There's going to be a big crowd. It's the final home game in a split series with Omaha. And Connor Noland has been the innings eater for the Iowa Cubs all season. So I'm in Marty Peavy, our manager's office. He tells me, look, we're really short on pitching today. We need Connor to give us 6, maybe 7 like he normally does. So, of course, in the first inning, he's on the ropes right away. He gives up a single to start the game, gets the next guy out, 2-run home run to Cam Devaney, Omaha's home run leader. So it's 2-0 already. And then it goes single and 2 walks to load the bases. And he gets an out. So he's got 1 batter left, I'm told, after the game. He was at 33 pitches. This is the last hitter he's being allowed to face. This is the guy we need to go 6 or 7. And they are prepared, this is what I've heard, to bring in left fielder Darius Hill in the first inning of our July 3rd game and perhaps have to move Connor Noland somewhere on the field. But that's another story. Long story short, he gets a strikeout to end the inning and then goes on to throw 5 2/3 with 8 strikeouts, earns his 8th win, and would have his league-leading tying 9th win if not for the lead being blown on July 9th in the 8th inning. But just kind of an incredible tribute to his grit and the way he goes about his business. I mean, it was one moment away from disaster for the Iowa Cubs in front of 9,000 plus people. And it turned into one of his more impressive performances of the year. To get through 5 2/3 while striking out 8, while using 34 of those bullets in the first inning is something that you don't see very often. If somebody's going to do it, it's Connor Nolan, the way he kind of manipulates the strike zone, changes speeds and locates well. But I thought that was not a moment that you're going to see one highlight and say, oh my God, that was incredible, but a moment that saved a baseball game and maybe a series for a team that was early in the second half and just trying to find a way to get back above 500. So a really impressive day for Connor Noland on July 3rd, and he just continues to do that. He's taking the ball every time through the rotation, which is pretty rare these days, and looking forward to seeing what he can do down the stretch here in 2025. Well, those are some of the plays that stood out for us. We will quickly talk here about our All-Star break plans before we sign off on Marquee, and for more content, you can stick around on the Iowa Cubs YouTube page as we dive into a couple of other topics. But let's open that up. What do you guys have planned for the All-Star break? It's every day except for Mondays for a long time, and then you have 4 days off in the middle of nowhere. So, Luke, what are you up to?
I don't have anything too crazy planned. I don't know if you guys have been able to hear it, but I'm here at home today, and my just over 1-year-old golden retriever, his name is Chesney, after Kenny Chesney, has decided to wake up out of his slumber and decide he wants to play. So I have a stack of toys that are squeaking to my right. I have him stationed to my left. He just laid down over there. You heard me talking about him. But just hanging out with friends, family here in Myrtle Beach. We're going to stay put here and, hopefully try to experience a little bit more of the area. I was a little bit late in getting here. I didn't arrive in Myrtle Beach until March. So just experiencing the area, hanging out with my wife and my dog.
BK, what's going on?
Yeah, this is the old hibernation period for us minor league baseball broadcasters to get some rest. It's kind of like the old, I'm not sure what to do with my hands, because we're used to working long days and we're used to calling baseball games every day. I think that's what I usually explain to people, of like, tell me about your job. Well, broadcasting a baseball game becomes part of your daily routine, and that's truly the case for all of us minor league baseball broadcasters. So no, gonna take some time to rest the voice a little bit and recover, and probably take some good walks around Notre Dame. My dad's a Notre Dame alum, so grew up a big Notre Dame football fan. So I always try and take a walk around campus when I can. So those 4 days will probably feature some long walks.
Good stuff. Connor, how about you?
Well, don't got too much going on here in Knoxville for the break. I actually think I'm going to make my way down to Atlanta. It's not too long of a drive. Luckily, I have some family out there. So that's kind of the plan right now. Go and check out the kind of fan festivities they've got going on. Not exactly sure I've been to Truist Park a handful of times. I love hanging around the Battery. Don't know if I'm going to get into the game. I think I might just kind of hang out, feel the energy out there. And that's kind of the plan right now. I know you guys say, hibernation, rest period. I don't think, rest is for the dead for me. So I'm going out to Atlanta. We're going to see how much we can get done and see if we can have a good time.
Rest is also not for people who have 2 kids under the age of 4. So I am not going to be sleeping much. I'll probably sleep less during the All-Star break than I have at any point this season. I also, like Luke, got to town a little bit late. So people keep asking me, what do you like to do in Des Moines? And I'm like, I've been to the ballpark and I enjoy it. So we got a Zoom membership for our 3-year-old for her birthday last week. So we're going to check out the Blank Park Zoo in Des Moines. We also got her a membership to the Children's Museum. So we're going to spend some costless time having fun around Des Moines and then get back to baseball shortly after that. But as far as sleep, I envy you a little bit, BK. I hope you enjoy that. But I'll worry about that maybe in 4 or 5 years when things settle down a little bit. So looking forward to the All-Star break. Obviously missed the games and the guys, but it's always fun to see them come back refreshed and ready to make a stretch run in August and into September. Well, that'll do it for our episode of Minor Details here on Marquee. Again, if you want to stick around for some extra content, we'll talk about a few other topics here heading into the All-Star break on the Iowa Cubs YouTube channel. All right, so Connor, you mentioned you were thinking about going to the All-Star game in Atlanta. I'm curious if any of you have All-Star game memories, or you've been to an All-Star game or a fan fest or a home run derby or any of those kind of things, and what those experiences were. So Connor, since you brought it up, We'll start with you. Will this be your first trip to an All-Star game if you do head to Atlanta, or have you had any experience in the past?
So that's kind of one of the motivations why I want to go. I haven't been to any sort of All-Star break, All-Star week festivities. Always a consumer on the television screen, whether it's the Home Run Derby, the Futures game, the Celebrity game, or the All-Star game itself. I always love consuming baseball. So yeah, I just really want to go ahead and get shoulder to shoulder with these fans who are watching this game, who are hanging out outside. And that's kind of the goal for me. Don't have any memories to contribute, unfortunately, but maybe when I check back in after this break, I'll have some more input.
Luke, how about you? Have you been to any kind of All-Star experience in the past?
So when I was 12, the All-Star game came to Kansas City. I did not go, unfortunately, but I do have a fun story that doesn't involve me. One of my friends growing up got to do the hot dog derby during the All-Star game, and he was catch-up. He won. Not only did he win, he set the fastest time at Kauffman Stadium ever in that, and it stood for like 4 or 5 years. So shout out to Jared. Yeah, so don't have any fun stories. Just as Connor said, always consuming it. Really enjoy the All-Star period. Just the fanfare. It's cool for the players that aren't in there to kind of get that re-energized feeling. As Jason mentioned on the minor league side, these guys get to go home. They get to see their families. Some of them just stay put and they explore, or they just lay in bed all day and recover. But I think at the big league level, it's a lot of the same thing. Some of the All-Stars, they get that extra push because they get to go be around, this cool environment and be part of this really special event that showcases the best talent in the game. And on the other side, the guys that aren't there, they get to go home, rejuvenate themselves and get ready to make that late end push. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. We'll see what happens, but I'm rooting on a lot of Cubs guys.
BK, any All-Star game experiences for you?
Never been, but when I was a kid, my buddies and I in my hometown of Mokina, Illinois, we would have a different host house every year, and the boys would all get together and watch the MLB All-Star game. So everybody would ride their bikes over to one of the guys' house, and then the bikes, of course, would be parked in the front lawn on their sides. You guys know how it went when we were kids, and then we'd watch the MLB All-Star game, and everybody would sleep over. So that was always my All-Star game memory from when I was a kid. But of course, in South Bend, guys, we hosted what is still the final Midwest League All-Star game back in 2019. It featured some pretty big names that have gone on to be big leaguers, but it also featured probably the coolest ending ever to an All-Star game, which was a extra inning home run derby. And of course, the game went to extras, right? When they announced that if we go to extras, we're doing a sudden death home run derby. Of course, we played extra innings. There was no way that game was not going to extras. And Chris Betts, who was a former Tampa Bay Rays prospect, never made the big leagues, but I'm sure if you ask Chris to this day, what's one of your best baseball memories, it's winning the extra inning home run derby in South Bend and doing a bat flip where he literally threw the bat 50 yards into shallow right field and then everybody mobbed him. So that was a fun night. I had never called a sudden death home run derby before. I was doing the All-Star game on the radio. I still don't know to this day what I said, but it's ended up working out okay. So that was a fun.
Before I talk about my All-Star game, a quick Chris Betts story. I'm glad you brought up that name. So when I was in Quad Cities, he was playing for Bowling Green, as you mentioned, and he led the league in home runs by a lot. And we're playing them. This was before the shift rules were in place. And I'm looking down on the field. He comes to the plate, and the entire infield and outfield is on the right side. Like, we put all 8 defenders around the pitcher on the right side. And so after the game, I asked our manager, Mickey Story, who's now in Sugarland with the Astros, I'm like, where did this come from? Like, are the numbers that significant that he's going to pull the baseball? And he said, absolutely not. He goes, he's actually a guy we should play straight up, but he's hitting so many home runs and we don't know how to get him out. So we're going to mess with him and just put everybody on the right side. And it worked. He went like 0 for 6 to start that series. And there was no science to it at all. It was just a manager trying to mess with a guy that was on a hot streak. So I thought that was the ultimate crazy minor league baseball story in that regard. But I also have a great story.
A bunt, that's legendary.
Right. It was absolutely insane. And he did not try to bunt. And I think he probably started to second guess not bunting, and that led to a tough series. I've never been to the All-Star game, but as a kid, the All-Star game was in Milwaukee, which was, of course, the famous tie that led to a lot of people being very angry about the All-Star game ending in a tie. But I did go to the Fan Fest, which is a great time, as like, I don't know, I must have been 10 or 12 years old. And I went with my friend and his dad, and they had these virtual batting cages. The Cubs have some of these cages now that will show a pitcher on the mound winding up, and he throws the ball out of the screen, right? So they had that set up, and there was 3 stations. It was like easy, moderate, and hard. That kids are going in the easy one, and it was like the Philly Fanatic throwing. And then in the middle, you could pick a player, but it was like ramped down, whatever. So I'm in like 7th grade, something like that. And I thought, all right, I'm going to go to the hard one, but I'm going to choose Greg Maddux because he's not going to throw 99, right? Like it's going to be 91, 92. So I step in, they put the helmet on, and you see Greg Maddux at Wrigley Field on the screen, and he winds up, and the ball comes out, and it hits me in the helmet. And I was like, oh, like I'm rattled at this point. Like this doesn't feel like it should have happened, right? So I'm looking around, and nobody's moving to do anything. So then I'm questioning whether I got hit in the head or not. And if I like imagine this, because there's thousands of people in this room, and I'm like, surely somebody would have stopped the machine if it hit me in the head. So I get like 9 more pitches. I'm striding way out of the, like stepping in the bucket toward first, just sticking the bat out. And I get done. Nobody says a word from the staff that was working this event. And so I go over to my friend's dad, and I'm like, I swear to God that he hit me in the head with the first pitch. And my friend's dad's like, oh yeah, he definitely did. And I'm like, thanks for stopping the machine. They were going to let me wear it for 10 straight pitches if that's what it had to be. But yeah, that's my All-Star game story. Greg Maddux, the virtual version, who's supposed to have pinpoint command, beamed me in the head on the first pitch. So yeah, it was a tough experience there on the VR batting cages in Milwaukee. So I don't remember the rest of the weekend because I probably had a concussion, but it was a fun time to say the least. Finally, one more question, and this is mainly for BK and Luke. I have nothing to contribute to this conversation, but I think it's funny, and I remember BK you having to talk about this a lot because he was on the team back then, and Luke, we just played Omaha, so this brought it to mind. But having the same name as a baseball player. Now, on the same team is a little bit different, but Brendan King, obviously a Cubs farmhand for a while. And what was that like? I know you've done several interviews about it, but is it a little bit odd to have to say your name day in and day out?
Great question. I'm so glad you brought this up because it actually started, and Luke can appreciate this because we were both at one point the announcer for the Orleans Firebirds. Brendan King, the pitcher, pitched for the Falmouth Commodores out on the Cape. And Luke, you may know this because, Cape League rosters change a lot. There's a lot of temp players that run in and out. And the roster every day that you receive might not be fully accurate by game time. So we got the Falmouth roster. We were in Falmouth. And it's my day calling the full play-by-play because I split the duties with Logan Raddick, my broadcast partner. And a pitcher comes in. We had just received a new roster like mid-game. So they got the 10 players on the roster mid-game. New pitcher comes in for Falmouth. I welcome back. Hey, welcome back on the Orleans Firebirds Radio Network. The new pitcher on for the Falmouth Commodores is Brendan King. And he comes in. I had no idea. So after the game, Kelly Nicholson, our manager, Brendan ends up shoving against us. And we go to dinner after the game. And Kelly goes, yeah, you really shut us down today. I said, well, this is unbelievable. It's spelled the same exact way as mine. And then it's ultimately coming about where Brendan King gets drafted in the 20th round of 2018 by the Chicago Cubs. We had followed each other on Twitter after that Cape summer. We ended up meeting on the Cape, taking a picture. And I remember getting a DM in 2018 that said, hey, I'm on my way. And I said, this is unbelievable. So he finishes the 2018 season with the South Bend Cubs and then, of course, wins the 2019 Midwest League Championship with South Bend. So I still have this picture to this day of us with the Midwest League Championship trophy in Clinton, Iowa. So yeah, Jason, it was always a heck of a time. And then both years in 2018 and 2019, the final home game, I did the pregame show on the field every day. The final home game, we reversed roles where he hosted the show and interviewed me.
Not bad. Not bad. And then Luke, there is a Luke Maley who's been around for a long time, in and out of the big leagues in AAA. We just saw him in Omaha. He actually got recalled to Kansas City during that series. It's spelled different, but what's it like being? I don't know. Are you the more famous Luke Maley, or is he?
I got to give the edge to him. It's actually really funny because he came into the big leagues. I think it was 2015 with the Rays, and started. He spent the majority of his early career years in the Rays organization, up and down in the big leagues, a journeyman catcher. Which is the funny part because I was a catcher. His name pronounced Luke Maley the same, and there is a different spelling. So me and BK have a little difference there and that relation to it. But I remember the first time that he played in Kansas City. I had known the name, but nobody else really did yet. And I got so many text messages from people that I had not heard from in years. Just, hey, it's like, I know exactly what this is about. No, it's not me. Like, I did not make it to the big leagues secretly and not post on Instagram about it. So it's been really funny for, every time he comes back to Kansas City, usually hear a little bit more, but now people that follow baseball know the name a little bit. He's not an all-star, but he's a name that's been around now, and he's been in a bunch of different cities. So it's always been really funny. To add to the lure of Luke Maley versus Luke Maley, two things recently happened. We'll start with, on the Pelican social media, I did a day in the life video. And somebody commented on our TikTok, wait, like Luke Maley, the former MLB catcher? And I was really close to responding and saying, no, like Luke Maley, the non-MLB catcher. Also, the last time that we spoke, I was headed back to Kansas City for a buddy's bachelor party. So we wrapped up the bachelor party activities, and I actually went to Kauffman Stadium for the final game against the Dodgers. It was a Sunday. I show up, and I used to work with the Royals in the media relations department, and Ian Crafty, who's been there doing media relations for quite some time. I walked in, and he was like, dude, we needed you to come when Luke Maley was here, so we could have taken you down to the clubhouse, gotten the infamous picture. So that would have been really cool. Well, I left Kansas City, and 2 days later, he got recalled to the Royals. I think we have something against each other that will never be in the same place at the same time.
Now, you, during the last episode of Minor Details, did have a Grand Slam aired on Marquee. I don't know if the other Luke Maley has had that yet or not. I'd have to check his stats against the Cubs on a game televised by Marquee. But, I mean, you've got to be starting to reel him in a little bit with that notoriety.
I feel like we're on a collision course for a head-on meeting. So, if I can keep, finding my way, putting the swing on Marquee, maybe eventually I'll catch his attention and we'll get that picture or something.
I will
bet
say,
he's never had a pizza burger either.
That's fair. I will say, on the video, I couldn't follow the baseball, so I'm not 100% sure where it landed, but because you jogged around the bases, we're just going to assume that you hit a home run. Connor, have you ever, I would assume Connor Nelson is a name that you've run into somebody else named Connor Nelson, probably not in professional baseball. I haven't seen one in my brief research, but have you ever had to deal with another Connor Nelson?
No, handful of Connors, handful of Nelsons. I have a triple first name combo. I'm Connor Jackson Nelson. So funny enough, when I was growing up, played a whole bunch of MLB The Show, and there was this outfielder on the Diamondbacks named Connor Jackson. So instead of making, my career to the show, I just took over that guy's career and I made him 20 times better. Because, I mean, I had to pull up his baseball reference page for the sake of this. He was still a good ball player. 271 career batting average, had a WAR over 2, played for the Diamondbacks a little bit. But that's probably the biggest comp I can bring up. And that was part of the reason why, sparked a love for MLB The Show. I was like, wow, I'm already in the game. It's like, can't get any better than this. And then you mentioned that pitching machine. Had to shout out Richie Giuliano, just faced that machine himself not 2 days ago when we're recording this. They loaded up Sam Thorson for him, one of our relievers who throws mid to upper nines. So he saw 97 3 times. The first time he could have swung and 3 pitches would have gone by. The third time he finally made some contact. So shout out Richie. He can successfully say that he's hit 97 miles an hour.
Yeah, that sounds like Julian, our video guy. He dials up Zach Wheeler on a regular basis and then sends me images of the exit velo in the cage off of Zach Wheeler. But what he doesn't tell me is that it's the 47th time that he saw his fastball in the same location, which he dialed into the machine as the video guy. And so it's not as impressive as it sounds. But they let him face Gavin Hollowell in a live BP the other day, and he went down on 4 pitches. So that dream is definitely on the back burner for Julian. I have never, and I never will, call a game for another Jason Kempf. It's, first of all, not a common name. Secondly, there's not a lot of talent associated with the name. So I'm not holding my breath on that. But I did find a 24th round pick of the Braves back in 1990 named Jason Kempfer. So I'm going to ride that guy's coattails as far as they take me. And that reminds me that as a Kempf, I took German in high school, which is a terrible decision if you end up working in baseball when the other choice was Spanish. So I'm still waiting for some type of Lars Nootbaar type of person, but the German kind, to walk into our clubhouse in Des Moines that I can immediately have small talk with in German, but it doesn't appear to be promising. All right, guys, thanks again for doing this. Another great episode. An exciting time here as we head into the All-Star break and a few days off. But when we get back, the stretch run begins, the final couple months of the season, and teams hoping to stay in the playoff mix or lock up playoff bids. So, again, thanks so much, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks, and you can check out this episode on Marquee, at least the early part, and then on the Iowa Cubs YouTube page. All right, guys, take it easy.